Welcome to Realty Wise. My name is Bobbye Owens, Realtor with RE/MAX North San Antonio. Today I'm here with Danny Palmer. Thanks for joining me, Danny.
Absolutely. I'm really glad to be here and help out.
Perfect. Can you tell us a little bit about your company?
Sure, you bet. So again, I'm Danny Palmer. I'm with Gold Financial Services, the Hamilton Group here in San Antonio, Texas. We're right on the north side of town. And we are a full service mortgage lender, and we lend primarily to residences for those first time home buyers, veterans, folks that have done it several times before. We also handle refinances and also construction loans as well.
Excellent. So you cover a lot. That's great.
Right.
So you mentioned where your office is. Do you personally live in San Antonio?
I do. So I live on the north side of town, right at Bulverde 1604, with my wife of 21 years.
Awesome.
And she works for HEB. She is an event planner for HEB and does a lot of their corporate communications. And we have three crazy
company.
Yeah, definitely. It is. I told her, I said, you're not allowed to leave. Job stability and bad times for sure. And we have three amazing kids, Ryan, who's 15, and twins, Alex and Julia, who are 10.
Excellent. Excellent. Twins. That's wonderful. I only had my children one at a time, and that was probably a good thing.
The first few years were tough.
Oh, I know, I'm sure, especially during toddler years. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose the mortgage profession?
You bet. So I got in the business in '99 via my father, believe it or not, Martin, and this happened in Austin. So I graduated from Trinity University in 1998 with a degree in finance and economics. And right off the bat, I took that initial job, right? The first one that came my way. And of course, it was the 9 to 5, earning a salary. I worked in the purchasing department for Electronic Data Systems, Ross Perot's old company up in Plano. And I quickly saw almost instantly, the sea of cubes, right? The corporate structure, watching my boss, Sandy, bless her heart, she worked so hard, watching her work 20 years to get herself up to middle management, and just that structure. I just wanted something different. And it just so happened that my dad was in the mortgage industry in Austin, which is where I grew up. And he invited me back to Austin to be a part of his team. So I spent one grueling year being his assistant, doing everything that he asked with very little pay and lots of work. But I'll tell you what, he taught me how to do the business the right way, how to treat people the right way, how to set expectations, and better yet, to just simply coach people through the process.
Well, and what an amazing opportunity, not only to work with a great mentor, but to be able to spend some excellent time with your father. So trying as that may have been from time to time, that's an experience not many of us can have.
That's right. Wouldn't have traded it.
So would you say then that working with your father was your most memorable experience, or something else stick out in your mind?
It's funny when you asked me that, that definitely popped into my mind. One of the things, I think, just because, we tend to remember what's most fresh in our minds. And I would say that right now it's literally going through all of the trials and tribulations of COVID. There was a mad dash in the mortgage business during the last year and a half for refinancing, folks taking advantage of the fact that rates just reached an unprecedented low. I never thought in my life I would lock in people with interest rates of 2.5 and below. And that happened quite a bit. And so just working nonstop to help people save money every single month, I think that's really important. It was very, very memorable. And right now, even refinancing is going on because what's happened is that appraisals have caught up, right? We're starting to see some values much higher for people that just bought homes in 2019 and 2020, and they're able to refinance even if their rate doesn't get a ton better, because they have come up a little bit, rates have come up, but we're getting them out of their mortgage insurance, and we're getting them out of FHA loans and putting them into conventional loans with more insurance that disappears. So there is still that need for that. And just the whole COVID blitz has been an absolute memorable experience. It's been unlike any time in my 17 years of business.
That is an excellent point you brought up. I get asked that as an agent, a real estate agent, a lot. What exactly is mortgage insurance, and why do you have to pay it? And do I have to pay it for the life of the loan? And as you just mentioned, people now have enough equity in their homes in such a short amount of time that they may be able to get out of that. So that is definitely a huge buyer benefit. So thank you for touching on that. Wanted to ask a quick question. What, along with those memorable experiences, I wanted to know what are some of the strange or odd requests you may have had from some of your clients over the past 17 years?
So, yeah, good question. I'm actually going to flip the script on this one just a little bit, because it tends to be more, what odd requests do we have of our clients? Because the mortgage business is so stringent. Everybody thinks that you have to put 20% down to buy a house. You certainly don't. We have programs for 0 down, 3% down, 3.5% down, and there's also down payment assistance, that sort of thing. But it never ceases to amaze me what the mortgage industry asks for. I mean, when you think about it, we are lending money to complete strangers, right? The government basically is, through their government agencies and what have you. And we have to make sure that we are there. The story of the client has to read like a pop-up book, right? To the underwriter. And so some of the odd requests that we've had, I've actually had to get a report card from a client to prove that the kiddo was not going to be 18 within the next 3 years, and that the child support was going to continue for at least 3 years so that we could use it for income. Kind of strange things like that. I've also had a client from China. We had to hire a translator and also had to translate all of the documents over into English in order to be able to do the loan. So that was interesting. And then also had an instance of a divorced client who had been receiving alimony, and apparently we learned that the alimony was just it was voluntary. It wasn't required anymore by the court. And so we told her that we weren't going to be able to use that income, and she literally called him and said, and he literally signed an order to make him pay it to her, continuing for at least 3 or 4 years. And we were like, okay, who on earth would do that? So, it's definitely new turns around every corner in this business, and odd requests all the time.
That sounds like you run into some very interesting situations. So you definitely highlighted some things that you've had to do in the business to work with your clients. Wanted to know, are there any other special things that you specifically or your company, Go Financial, would do that would set you apart from some of the other mortgage lenders out there?
Sure. So it's really important to separate ourselves, both personally and as a company. I think we do that well. As a company, Gold Financial is a local mortgage company. Everything that we do is in-house. In other words, my team is here. My team is within arm's reach of me in terms of my processing staff, underwriting staff, closers. I worked for a big bank one time, and I remember the loan getting shipped off to another city to be processed, and I tried to call and get a status on it, and I was told I needed the loan number in order to figure anything out. That doesn't exist here. You're not a number, you're a person. And just the fact that everybody is in-house all the way through the closing department, our team has all of those resources right in front of us, so we're super efficient there. Personally, I spent 8 years as a financial planner, and so the approach that I take to doing the business, I believe, is quite different than others. I take a very fiduciary approach. It's not just a mortgage. It's not just a payment. It's not just an interest rate. Okay. A house is not just a house. It is a wealth building tool. And I make sure that I understand that with folks, and that folks really get a good, clear picture of that. And now we try to figure out, how do we build wealth the most efficient way? What debts are we managing? How do we structure the mortgage so that you can build equity the quickest? What is the best strategy for the rate that you choose? How long are you going to live in this house? What is your time horizon? So we spend a lot of time coming up with a plan, instead of just saying, oh, okay, you want to put as little down as possible. Great, do an FHA loan. Wrong, because it might be a 3% down conventional loan that's going to fit you better, because that mortgage insurance goes away if you tell me it's going to be a long-term thing for you and your family. So that definitely sets us apart. I take that approach.
Excellent. And it's wonderful that you take all of that time and you invest it in all of your clients to make sure that they're getting the best deal for them.
Correct.
Well, thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
Just on a personal note, we talked a little bit about you living here and being in the community. What are some of your favorite things to do in San Antonio?
Well, of course, San Antonio is like home to me, having gone to Trinity University for 4 years in the 90s, moved back in 2006, and have been here ever since. We love, love, love the Spurs. We love as a family going to the SAFC soccer games. All three of my kiddos are actively involved in club soccer, so we love going to do that. And of course, every year the rodeo and the barbecue cook-off that comes with the rodeo, we love being a part of all that. So San Antonio, just the culture and everyone, I mean, San Antonio is still very much Southern hospitality. It's still very much Texas, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I love Texas. I'm a native Texan myself, and I love San Antonio too. Just wanted to ask real quick, what are some of the greatest challenges you've had in this job?
Sure. Juggling several clients at one time is always a challenge. I'd say the number one challenge that's never ceases to go away is just the fact that I'm always learning. There's always something new to learn. Guideline changes constantly, and having to stay up on those. I'd say that that's the number one challenge in the business right now, is just staying up on all the changes so that you make sure you tackle all those potential 11th hour issues in the first hour so that everything goes smooth throughout the process. But I'd say guideline changes, that's a big challenge all the time. We just have to stay on top of that so that we're the most informed lender in town.
That is a valid point. And frequently on my end of the real estate world, there's a lot of changes to stay up on. So I can imagine they're even more challenging on your side of that. Lastly, I wanted to know, what is it that you do for fun, Danny?
Sure. So aside from spending time with the family, like we always do, I feel like I'm constantly driving to soccer fields. One thing that I really enjoy doing is cooking. I am the cook in my family. My wife is really good at things out of a can. And I do all the cooking. So about 20 years ago, I started cooking barbecue, and I started learning and just trying to understand better ways of doing that. Well, in 2018, we did a fundraiser in my neighborhood to raise money for a family whose home had burned down. And the goal was to do a plate sale or just simple donations to try to raise money. We raised over $5,000 for them, which helped with, meet their deductible, just anything we could do to help. So as a result of that, I created a charitable cooking team. We do competitions, and we also cook charitably for other nonprofits, and it's called Queue It Up. So with the idea in mind of queue it up for kids, or queue it up for cancer, or queue it up for whatever we're benefiting is the goal there. And so we bring a big barbecue trailer out and we'll cook. I've cooked for 300 people before. We've done street tacos, we've done pulled pork and brisket and sausage and all of those sorts of things, just to be that arm of a nonprofit who's trying to raise as much money as possible to try to eliminate the need for hiring a caterer, which can be so expensive, $15, $20 a person. And we go out there and we just donate our time and our money and do it for free. So that's really what I get a lot of joy out of doing. And then we compete on the side. When I can find time and soccer takes a break, we go and we compete for fun. Just try to learn from the best out there.
And as someone who has actually had your barbecue at one of our real estate functions, I can testify that you are a wonderful cook. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, you're very welcome, and it's the truth. So how can we as general public reach you if we have more questions about how to apply for a loan, or if we just have questions in general about the mortgage process, or where to start?
You bet. So my cell phone is the easiest way to find me at all hours, any day. If I don't get back with you, it means I'm doing something with my family, but I will certainly get back. The number is 210-386-5003. And then also for clients, for anyone looking to possibly refinance or purchase a home or just simply have questions, I have a website. It's homeloansa.com. That's homeloansa, like San Antonio.com. And we also have an app on the App Store, the Gold Financial app. So it will prompt you for that if you go to my website, if you'd like to download that as well. It's a very easy and secure way to apply online and figure out where you stand.
That sounds like a very handy tool to have. Thank you for letting us know about that.
You bet.
Well, Danny, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today. I'm sure you've answered a lot of questions that people have and are sometimes a little nervous to ask. So it's a great opportunity to learn about the loan process in your company, Gold Financial Services specifically.